character is Izabel from the comic series Saga. The Saga series was introduced to me a couple of years ago when I first went to New York Comic Con, and I totally fell in love. It's got everything. There's romance, sci-fi, supernatural, and there's so many really interesting characters. Like, there's no one that's really two-dimensional, but the two characters that really jumped out at me were the Stalk, who is a bounty hunter, and Izabel, who is a ghost. The Stalk, I think, would be one of the coolest costumes to ever go all out and do, but she doesn't have any arms. And she's got like spider legs, so it's really, really difficult. So I decided for my first Saga costume to go with Izabel, who only doesn't have any legs. In order to accommodate the character not having any legs, there was a few ideas I went through. One was trying to have something on my legs that sort of matched the background, but that was going to be too difficult unless I was doing a very specific shoot in a very specific location. I thought of using a bright color like a green screen or a blue screen type thing so that they would be easy for a photographer to sort of key out and make me float. And in the end, I just decided to go with black pants and shoes because in most environments in a convention setting, that would be sort of the easiest and simplest way to not have legs visible, and clearly not part of the costume because it's not the pink that everything else is. Legs are some of the hardest because you kind of need your legs to move around unless you don't have any legs to begin with. Arms, I think, are a little easier. If I was gonna do the armless character, one of the things I would do is just make a bodysuit and be able to wrap the limbs that you do have into the inside of the body. That's how I would handle any other costume which didn't have, say, arms or hands. For my makeup and my contacts, the base color for my face and my neck and the ears is a Wolf Hydro Color water-based makeup. So I like water-based makeup because it's really easy on my skin. You get better coverage with a lot of cream-based makeup, but I do just like the look of this. And then I added contouring with blush. So then you also get the red tones in for highlights and shadows. All of the black that's on my face right now is actually just more Wolf Hydro colors, except in black. The contacts are circle lenses that I've got from iFairy. I actually got them for another costume, which I canceled, so perfect time to use them, so I get to have pink eyes as well. As for my arms and hands, I think on camera and in person too, the color matches really well, but there's not actually makeup on any of this. It's a mesh fabric, so you can see it sort of wrinkles up a little bit on my glove here. And with a really small seam, like about here, and a really tight finish, it looks really good, and it's got just enough stretch and sheerness to look like my skin is pink. And as a finishing touch, fake nails on the gloves. The design on the shirt, at least as far as the story we've been told so far goes, doesn't have any actual significance to the character, but it really is a very distinctive design. The way I did this was by blowing up an image from the book, printing it out and tracing it onto freezer paper, and cutting out this as a stencil, but not cutting through all the little tips, because normally you can only do one big space as a stencil. So by not cutting anything out, ironing it onto my fabric, and then finishing cutting out all the extra little pieces, I could peel off everything and all the little bits and pieces stayed where they were supposed to be, so I get the design as accurate as I wanted it. And then I just stenciled it in with pink paint. I've gone through 2 wigs for this costume so far. The first one was actually reusing my Fluttershy wig. I decided I wasn't going to be cosplaying Fluttershy anymore, so I cut it all off. I didn't have to buy a new wig, but I didn't really like it. The style wasn't right, the color wasn't right, so I ended up replacing it with the one I'm wearing now. So this is actually the debut for this wig. It's one I bought on AliExpress. It's like this really nice raspberry pink color. Unfortunately, it came curly, so I had to straighten it and then cut like half the length off. But I'm really happy with how this has turned out now. It's a little hard to notice because of the wig and the hat, but these are actually prosthetic ears as well. I didn't do a lot of blending here because my wig covers it up, saves lots of time. But these are like just your standard Halloween level monkey ears. And then those ears are just stuck to my skin with a standard adhesive, which is spirit gum. And I've added the little earrings that Izabel has in there by poking it right through the latex of the ears, and again, painting it with the same face paint that I use on my face. Aside from the color pink, the guts are probably one of the most distinctive parts of Izabel's look. It's because she's dead. But her and all of her other ghosty friends are all basically in the state they were in which they died. So the character of Izabel stepped on a landmine. Her whole people were destroyed in the course of this interstellar war. And so therefore she's missing her legs. And that's the way her ghost appears because that's how she looked when she died. When I was thinking about how to make the guts, I looked at a couple different options, and one that I kind of wanted to do was sort of a zombie movie type look where you actually make them out of latex. But it turned out to be way too much work and way too intensive, and I'd have to buy too many supplies to do this. So what I did was I went into my stash, found every piece of pink fabric I could, and then just sewed them in all kinds of wiggly lines, just various different lengths, various different sizes, stuffed them with regular polyfill fiber stuffing, and then sewed them to an elastic belt. So just a wide black elastic belt. It just tucks up under my shirt and disappears. I have learned a few new things from this costume, but it's mostly been augmenting skills I've already had. I've made bodysuits before working with spandex, but this is the first time I've worked with mesh. So that presented its own sets of challenges in terms of trying to have absolute minimum seam allowance so it doesn't show through. And it's just being a really tricky fabric to sew with. I've done face paint before, but not this type, not this style, so that's another thing. I haven't actually had to straighten a wig before, so that was the first experience. Now I straightened my own hair though, so. Stencil for the shirt was also much more complicated than any stencil I've done before. So it was interesting learning how to cut just through once I've stuck it to the shirt. And I also made my own hat. So I knit this, which was learning a couple of new knitting techniques. So far, I've only worn the costume once. I wore it to the Silver Snail Halloween party, but I'm taking it to FrostCon, so I'm excited to introduce it to a totally different group of people there. The challenges I've run into so far, I mean, it's a fairly simple, easy to wear costume. I've got much wider hips with sort of this guts tutu thing I've got going on that I'm used to, and the makeup takes forever to put on, so that's challenges. At the Silver Snail party, they do stamp your hand when you go in, which was kind of a problem because I've got the glove and it's all tucked in, and then he's like, oh, I'll just stamp your arm. And I'm like, no, that's not makeup either. That's also costume. You can't stamp that. There is FrostCon. I'm also planning to wear it at Ad Astra in the spring because I just decided to go. And I'm taking it to C2E2 in Chicago. So I'm excited for that because I'm really hoping that I'm gonna have a group for C2E2. I have a friend there who talked me into taking Izabel to the con to do Saga group. So I don't know what they're planning, but there should be at least another Saga cosplayer for me to hang out with there.